Jason Bird. I'm an industrial designer. I studied at Queensland University of Technology, and I've designed lighting pretty much all my career. Although when we started Luxxbox, I got into a lot of furniture design and product design, which is something I played around with for years, but Luxxbox gave me the opportunity to do that. But we've always had a strong line of lighting products, and of course acoustic lighting came about 7 or so years ago. So Luxxbox has about 30 staff. We're based in Brisbane. We have a manufacturing facility there. We have a studio of 5 industrial designers, but we have marketing, we have a sales team, we have a production team. The production team is mostly industrial designers, the sales team, industrial designers. Then we have a production facility in San Francisco. We have our other staff there, and we have a small office in Denver where we've got 2 salespeople. Well, it's a category that kind of evolved, and it's interesting to see how it happened. I mean, it was just we started developing acoustic lighting because interior designers were asking us to apply this material to our lights. We had some designs that were naturally sort of able to accommodate the material. We were able to do some really good designs. We've had some very successful products around our design. Doesn't matter what the material is, it's about the design. And it's just moved from there. Now, we introduced our acoustic lighting into the US 4 years ago, and there are a lot of incumbents in the US, big incumbent companies in the US, and they've just jumped on it. They've seen that there's another way, another niche there that they can occupy, and so they're going hard on it. But you know, it's educating the market as well. So there's a lot of time spent. We spend a lot of time, other companies are spending a lot of time educating the market around the many benefits of this type of lighting product. And it goes to that ability to put it right where the sound is generated, right where the people are talking around the desks and things, and occupying that space where formerly there was nothing. So you talk about these things, you know, these things around sound and the inefficiencies in sound in the workplace, what that causes to loss of productivity and loss of dollars at the end of the day. So we educate the market around those sorts of things, but we also talk about that underutilized space, those big planes, which are typically where the sound travels, you know, so above the desk, below the ceiling. They're usually open for sight lines and things. They're also usually open because you don't want to interfere with the lighting outcomes. You don't want to shadow and things like that. So rather than hanging a baffle, which might cast a shadow this way and that, which is a typical response to an after response to a noisy office environment, you design in the lighting into the acoustic device, and you hang that above the desk. So sound travels along and it hits a wall, but it's gone past 10 years before it gets there, and the distraction's already occurred. You see a lot these days in restaurants, people putting acoustic material underneath the tables and underneath the chairs even. That's all great, and that'll help in a small way, but the sound wave has to bounce around and get down there before it has any effect. And so it's already passed around and gone past everyone's ears before it actually gets down underneath the table. So, you know, it's important to educate people about where to put these acoustic devices. Our product is used mostly in new fit outs simply because the market is getting educated and people understand that sound is an issue. You know, and I think interior designers over the years have obviously had their share of noise problems as well when they've designed a space and they've looked for solutions. The acoustic engineers love it as a retrofit item because they're looking at a space and they're saying, right, well, we've already got carpet on the floors, we have an open ceiling, we've got no walls, what do we do? So this is another tool, acoustic lighting is another tool in their repertoire to actually solve some problems. as a metric, we like to quote Sabins, and a Sabin is a value, an acoustic value, and it's a metric derived by the surface area of the product or of the acoustic material multiplied by the NRC. The NRC is the noise reduction coefficient. So acoustic engineers use Sabins. We like to quote Sabins. It's a more appropriate, we feel, metric, because the performance of an acoustic product is all about surface area. Bigger is better. And the great thing about the lighting as well, especially when you're talking about big pendants, is you've got acoustic material on the outside, but the surface area on the inside counts as well. And so that all calculates into the Sabin value. Now, an acoustic engineer might say, okay, they'll do all their calculations, they'll look at all the surface materials, they'll look at the desks, the furniture, they'll say, okay, there's X number of people in this space, we need a reverberation time of 0.5. How do we get that? Because we're not getting it now. So they've got to go through a list of things that they've got to try to get to that, and acoustic lighting is one of those things now. Now that it exists, they're like, okay, so I can look down the list. You've got so many Sabins for each one of these fixtures. Great, I can then specify all of these, and it's a great example of how it works. And that's after the fact. Acoustic lighting obviously is easy to install as well after the fact. Absolutely, and I mean it's smart. And I mean a great example is a room that we did where they had an inbuilt sound system that had to be tuned by a professional to get all the levels right and whatnot. And so that all happened before our lights went in, and then we put the electrician installed the lights. They had to get the technician back in to retune all of the audio because it just completely deadened the space. You know. So it makes a very marked difference. I mean, even in spaces where we use some of our wall treatments, we have various acoustic tiles and things. A big concrete wall will be a big sound reflector. So you know, it does work. Yeah, putting things on walls. It's just you've got to assess the space where you're putting them. Well, certainly wellness across all levels in the office space is I think key, and that's just not sound as well. Lighting has always been part of that, and more around tunable lighting and circadian rhythms and things like that. You know, where you're changing the colour temperature through the course of the day. Most lighting is capable of that now, or at least can be capable of that now. Our lighting certainly can be capable of that if it's required. PoE power supplies are so that's where you've got your internet connected devices. So it's going to become a situation where lighting is no longer the domain of the electrician, and it'll become the domain of the IT guy.